he really wanted completely different. So it was interesting. It was a really wonderful, challenging experience, I think.
I am very excited to talk about Hypnotic with you. I watched it over the weekend, and it was just such a mind-bending thriller. I truly did love it. Now, you have, of course, worked with Robert before, but what about, this project in particular really sparked your interest to want to be a part of it?
Well, first of all, I've always wanted to work with Robert as a director because I've worked with him as a producer of Predators, but I've never experienced him as a director. And I've followed his career and his films for many years since El Mariachi. I think by being this director that I was always passionate and advocate for independent filmmaking and storytelling, that I was always had a curiosity to work with him. So when he called me to start with, I was like, Robert, I'll do anything with you, so it doesn't even matter. But once he sent me the script, I was really curious to know how he would bring that to life. Because by reading the script, you can imagine, it's like reading a book. You can imagine that world. You can really create that environment, or the twists or turns and everything that happens. You can imagine in your mind and heart. But once you put it in film, once you put it on its feet, it's a completely different thing. And I was very curious to know how he would do that vision of a script that had been with him for such a long time. So it was a wonderful experience.
So what would you then say was one of the biggest takeaways that you had from those conversations with Robert going into filming that really helped you, embrace the world around you?
First of all, I was curious about hypnosis. So it was like, okay, if he's curious about it, let me try to understand a little bit. I'm a little bit of a nerd. I went out, I read about it. I was like, okay, what is this? And understand a little bit of this world that he's creating and finding interesting thing about it, but without going too deep, because basically on this film, I really wanted I want to be very open and free for him to guide me to whatever he was envisioning, because it's so many, a character within a character, without giving too much spoiler, there's so much in it that I wanted to understand how he wanted, for example, the hypnosis to be done. So I tried a lot to follow his lead on that, and he wanted to be very subtle. So kind of to be in sync with what Bill Fitchner, what William was doing, what, the other actors were doing. And that was something important for myself, for me. But also the character twist and turn, how he really wanted the differences between the versions of this character being the same core, how to create that in a subtle way, but powerful way. But he really wanted completely different. So it was interesting. It was a really wonderful, challenging experience, I think, to understand the theme that he wanted, being more of a film noir and having, Hitchcock references, to then, do a film that has, I don't know how many twists and turns.
I lost count by the end, but at the same time, not in a bad way. It was like,
it's hard
wow.
to talk about it without giving spoilers, right? It's like, oh, how can I say this? No, I can't. No, I can't. So it's like,
it's tough. It is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it makes for fun viewing, and makes for fun then, spreading word of mouth. I can't tell you, but you got to go see it.
Yeah.
But so with that said, then, with creating two totally different, like we're talking about, without going into spoilers, creating two totally different characters, performance wise, what is that then like, building two different dynamics with a lot of your co-stars, especially Ben and William? What is that like, building these different rapports with your co-stars?
It was a lot of fun because it's kind of like a group imaginating session. Because it's like you're basically having almost to play two different films. I mean, less with Ben without giving it too much, but more with this subworld, this different world that she lives in, but also how it's figuring out, like finding out the journey. Because even if Robert really wanted super different, like one more cold and harsh and very corporate driven and very strong and, like a very cold woman, and the other one to be more free, more hippie, more alive, more warm. But also I wanted to not only create like the differences of it, like completely separate, but like to have something that connected both of them on a deeper level that leads to where the film goes, which is like, oh, it's always the same person, but there's a certain level of unity between them. And I think the way that I tried to do was to bring warmth and empathy, because at the end it justifies, it explains why. So I kind of like tried to do that, but it was fun. Like with the other actors, like especially with William, it was wonderful because it was always imagining together what it would have been, this other world, and then this other world, and this other world. People are going to think we're talking about the multiverse.
Yeah, right. In a way, we kind of are. without spoiling anything, we kind of are.
Yeah, totally.
But you know, when you talk about the imagination, I mean, the visuals obviously come into play with that. And with something like the chase through the city sequence, or the or even the bank heist, you know, I'm trying to imagine these things. You've worked with you know, visual effects heavy productions before, but what was it like? Because I was talking with Robert, and he obviously loves going small with, or you know, smaller with his productions while still going big scale. What is that like, you know, finding that happy medium between going big with your imagination while still, you know, visualizing what is in front of you?
It's a very Robert thing, like you said, because it's very hard to achieve sometimes. And because he knows so much about filmmaking, and he knows so much how to film, and he knows so much on storytelling, like from the script to filming to editing to actually filming. He's one of the DPs in this film. He was operating camera a bunch of times. So he knows how to create that sensation of it's big, it's explosive, but at the same time, the bank vault was like two walls together. Like it was super simple. I remember walking in, I'm like, this is where you guys film? Really? And he was like, yeah. I was like, oh my God, this is how can you do that? But you need to have so much knowledge and preparation and exactly knowing what you're going to shoot and what you're going to need. So then you're not in that editing room needing more. And I think that's why he's able to make it. I think you really need to know how to sell out. Do you know what I mean? Like how he did and all that. But yeah, it's different than having a green screen. We had a green screen there. We had for a few things, but it's not as massive as a massive, you know, battle chase or something else.
Sure. Well, he sells it very well, as do all of you. And before I let you go for my final question, I'm a big fan. I was a big fan of Predators when it came out, and
thank you.
Since Robert was a producer on it, I mean, did you two talk at all on the set about, you know, I mean, there were plans at one point for a sequel with you and Adam. So do you still ever have that in mind? Do you still ever talk with Robert about, hey, can we get this going?
I would love to do with him directing. It would be fun. No, we didn't talk. We talk a lot about the time that we did Predators, but we didn't talk about the future of let's do something together. But it was funny because we shot Predators at Troublemaker Studios on a bunch of locations that we actually filmed a few things for Hypnotic. So it was very nostalgic to come back many years later to the same set, to a bunch of the same crew that did Predators, because it's Robert's family. It's in Austin, Texas. It's his gang, it's his crew. So it was really special to be back there with Predators memories. But yeah, I mean, like if he's back doing it and he want me, I would love it.
Well, I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for that, because I know I want to see more of Isabel fighting some Predators on screen one day.
That'd be fun, right?
It would be so much fun. Let's you know what? We'll campaign with Robert right now. Make it happen.
I love it.
But in the meantime, I really look forward to spreading the word about Hypnotic. I think people are going to love it, and it's really just so much fun from start to finish. So thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Wonderful to meet you.